The sheets are thin tonight, thinner than you remember. The fabric tightens across your chest, not tucked, restrained. The bed narrows, the walls close, not slowly, as if they were always this close, and you only now notice. Metal. The walls are metal. The ceiling lowers and the plaster becomes conduit pipe, cable run, the faint green pulse of an LED strip casting light upward from the floor. The air changes, not bedroom air, something processed, something that has passed through filters and recyclers and come back warmer, drier, with a metallic taste at the back of your throat. Machine oil, a trace of something green, herbs, growing somewhere close, in a galley you haven't reached yet. The bed is a shelf. A narrow shelf bolted to a metal wall with a mesh restraint across your chest instead of a blanket. The gravity is wrong, lighter than it should be. Your body floats a fraction above the surface, held by the restraint, and the sensation is not falling, but hovering. Permanent, gentle, strange. The hum, a low vibration that lives in the walls, the floor, the shelf beneath your back. Not a sound, a presence, the pulse of a machine that wraps around you in every direction. A living ship. You are inside it. It is breathing. You are Jos Kato. You are 35 years old. You are the cargo master of the independent freighter Penumbra. The bunk is yours. The dip in the foam matches your hip, your shoulder. The ship suit hangs on a hook to your left, grey fabric, magnetic boot clips at the ankles. A cargo scanner is clipped to the belt. A stylus sits behind your left ear, and your hand reaches for it before your mind decides to. Habit. 13 years deep. On the shelf above, a manifest tablet, its screen cracked in the corner, charging from a cable that Yuki spliced 6 months ago. In the storage net below, a second device, locked, heavier, in a ruggedized case. March 7th, 2083. Mars orbit. The run begins today. 8 days to Hygiea Mining Station in the belt. In Hold A, 4,200 kilograms of legitimate cargo. Drill bits, water filters, medical supplies. Behind a false panel in the aft bulkhead, sealed with 4 bolts that must not draw a second glance. 280 kilograms of cargo that appears on no manifest. 2 books, 1 ship. 1 set of margins that determine whether 7 people fly or fold. Your eyes open to the mesh restraint and the hum. 1/3 gravity, Martian standard, the Penumbra's spin drum setting. The ship breathes around you. Air recyclers cycling, the thermal expansion of the hull pinging faintly somewhere above. A cough from 2 bunks down. You reach for the manifest tablet on the charging clip. The cracked screen lights. You dropped it on the cargo grid 6 months ago, and Yuki said she'd replace the glass when they had a day in dock. They haven't had a day in dock. 2 meters by 1. That is the space. Personal locker bolted to the bulkhead, combination lock, steel. A photo stuck with adhesive tape. Your parents, Hellas Basin, the colony dome a pale curve behind them, 4 years old, the photo. The tape is curling at the edges, and you press it flat with your thumb every morning, a gesture that has replaced visiting. The air is close, warm. 7 people breathing the same recycled molecules. The metallic undertone sits at the back of the tongue like a coin held in the mouth. The clean manifest loads first. Manifest 1, the legitimate cargo. 4,200 kilograms bound for Hygiea Mining Station. You scroll. Containers 1 through 4. Industrial drill bits, 1,800 kilograms. Tungsten carbide, Tharsis manufacture. Containers 5 through 7. Water purification filters, 1,200 kilograms. Containers 8 and 9. Medical restocks, 1,200 kilograms. Antibiotics, surgical supplies, radiation exposure treatments, 9 containers, 9 transponder seals. Every number matches. This is the version of the Penumbra that customs will see. Pull the locked datapad from the storage net. Thumbprint. The real numbers load. Add 200 kilograms, cognitive enhancers, pharmaceutical-grade methylphenidate derivatives, vacuum-sealed in packs. Add 80 kilograms, unregistered personal communication units, encrypted, corporate monitor bypass. Total hidden mass, 280 kilograms. The number doesn't appear on the tablet in your other hand. It lives only here, on a device that requires your thumb and wipes itself after 3 failed attempts. The arithmetic runs itself. It always does. The numbers finding their shape before you ask them to. Legitimate cargo pays 12,000 credits. The hidden cargo pays 74,000. Fuel costs 8,000. Docking and transit fees 3,400. Crew wages for the run 14,000. Legitimate alone negative 13,400 after expenses. The ship loses money on legal freight. Every run. The grey market cargo is not a bonus. It is the reason the Penumbra's torch still burns. The only reason. The locked datapad is heavier than the manifest tablet, not in grams, in what it carries. 38 runs with 2 sets of numbers, 2 ledgers, 2 versions of the same ship, 2 answers to the question of what this crew does for a living. The discomfort had a half-life, and 38 runs is past it. Your stomach is still. Your hands are steady. That is what habit does to the things that should unsettle you. Wash, a damp cloth, water rationed. Ship suit off the hook, pull it on, seal the front. The fabric is stiff from recycled laundering. The ship's washing system is functional, not gentle. Cargo scanner clipped to the belt. Stylus behind the left ear. Slide the real datapad back into the storage net. Zip it closed. The bunk looks like anyone's bunk. A shelf, a locker, a photo. Nothing that says 2 books. Step through the curtain into the corridor. Bunks don't have doors. They have curtains. Privacy is an acoustic fiction that everyone agrees to maintain. The corridor is the ship's spine. Narrow overhead conduit pipes, cable runs bending at junctions, LED strips on the floor casting upward light that makes shadows climb the walls. The paint is worn through to bare metal where shoulders brush. 15 years of bodies moving through the same passage. Every scuff is a small history of someone in a hurry. The sound of your own boots is the ship's clock. Step, click, step, click. Magnetic soles finding the deck, releasing, finding it again. A rhythm you could walk in your sleep. You have walked it in your sleep. Twice Dex found you in the corridor at 0300, eyes open, boots clicking, going nowhere. The ship walks with you, whether you choose to or not. The access ladder to hold A. Handrails worn smooth by thousands of grips, the metal shaped by palms into shallow grooves you can feel. The transition from crew section to cargo is immediate. The light changes from warm LED to industrial overhead. White, flat, unforgiving. The air temperature drops 3 degrees. The smell shifts from human to machine. Hold A, 12 meters long, 8 wide, the largest space on the ship. Overhead lights on a motion sensor, flickering on as you step off the ladder. Grey standardized freight containers in rows on the deck grid, mag-locked, each tagged with a custom seal and transponder chip. The seals are real. The transponder data matches the clean manifest. You pull the scanner from your belt and start at Container 1. The beep of each transponder confirmed. A small electronic acknowledgement that this box is what it says it is. Containers 1 through 4. Industrial drill bits. Tungsten carbide manufactured in the Tharsis Industrial Zone. Bound for Hygea's deep core mining operations, 2,000 meters below the asteroid's surface, where the nickel-iron deposits run thick. Legal. Essential. The kind of cargo that sustains a fleet. For one ship, independent, drill bits cover fuel. Just fuel. Nothing else. Switch the scanner to mass distribution mode. Each container's position plotted against the ship's center of mass. A wireframe diagram on the scanner screen showing weight balance across 3 axes. A 2% shift during engine burns registers in the helm. Dex would feel it in his hands. A 5% shift triggers the automated sensors at Deimos Station. A red flag that invites a Tier 3 scan. Current distribution, 0.8% variance from nominal. The containers are where you put them. The math is clean. Tap a knuckle against Container 1. The resonance tells you the load. Tungsten carbide rings different from hollow, different from liquid, different from organic. A dense, flat sound. Full. The container is packed correctly. Your ear knows this before the scanner confirms it. The hold echoes. Every sound bounces off the hard surfaces. The tap of a boot, the click of the scanner, the distant hum of the ship filtered and reflected until it sounds like something alive in the walls. Container surfaces are cold under the scanner head. The hull is 2 centimeters away, and the chill of space bleeds through the metal. Containers 8 and 9, sealed pharmaceutical containers, standard belt station medical resupply, antibiotics, surgical supplies, radiation exposure treatments, worth 3,000 credits on the clean manifest. The cognitive enhancers behind the false panel, same pharmaceutical category, different legality, are worth 60,000. The ratio is the grey economy compressed to a single number. Mila Reeves is already in the hold, checking tie-downs, running her own manifest verification, scanner in one hand, tablet in the other, counting containers against the list. 3rd run. She's thorough. She counts twice. She asks about the medical restocks. Are they temperature sensitive? You answer. Stable to 40 degrees. The hold is climate controlled. She nods, makes a note. She does not look at the aft bulkhead. She doesn't know to look. Wait for Mila to finish and climb the access ladder, her boots on the rungs, fading. Count to 60. Then move to the aft bulkhead. 4 bolts. They look structural, hex head, countersunk, matching every other bolt on the panel. The hex driver from the belt toolkit. Turn each one. The panel swings inward on concealed hinges, and the space behind opens. 2 meters deep. Carved from the radiation shielding cavity by Yuki's hands 18 months ago. The work light clips to the upper edge and clicks on. The air is different in here. The shielding material changes the scent, ionized, metallic, a faint ozone that catches in the nose. The space is tight. Stand sideways. The pharmaceutical packs sit on a custom shelf Yuki welded from salvaged bracket stock. Vacuum sealed, each one firm and cool to the touch. Below, the comms crate, mag-locked to the deck, sealed. 80 kilograms of communication equipment that lets miners talk without the corporation listening. 200 kilograms of methylphenidate derivatives, sharps on the belt stations. Pharmaceutical-grade, manufactured in unlicensed labs on Deimos, where the oversight is thin and the demand is constant. They give miners the focus and clarity to calculate hazard rates, to look at a shift assignment and understand, precisely, the probability that the ceiling will hold. The corporations ban them because a miner who can do that math is a miner who says no. Informed workers refuse dangerous work. Informed workers cost money. The comms units, encrypted, untraceable, designed to bypass the corporate monitoring networks that cover every belt station like a net. Every message on a corporate station is logged, every call recorded, every conversation between sections monitored for coordination, for organization, for the word union. These units make a gap in the net. They let people talk. Scanner over each pharmaceutical pack. Mass confirmed. Seal integrity confirmed. No shift damage from the loading process. 280 kilograms, matching the real manifest to the gram. Close the panel. 4 bolts. Hex driver. Each one turned until the head sits flush with the surrounding surface. Run a fingertip across each bolt head. The ridge where metal meets metal. The alignment that says, this is wall, not door. Flush, 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 flush. Every run, the same moment. The panel closed, the bolt seated, the hidden hold sealed behind a surface that reads as radiation shielding on every scanner Deimos Customs owns. The feeling is not fear. Fear was the first 3 runs. Now, it is something quieter. A vigilance that sits behind the sternum and doesn't switch off. Your hand rests on the panel for 1 breath. Then you move. Forward through the corridor. The air changes, warmer, and the green scent of Jinsu's hydroponic rack reaches you before the galley does. Basil, mint, something leafy you can never identify. Green and alive in a metal ship. Jinsu park at the heating unit, rehydrating protein packs, brewing coffee from real ground beans. The jar is Jinsu's one luxury, bought at Phobos dock, rationed with the precision of someone who understands that morale is a consumable. The crew would mutiny without that coffee, and everyone knows it, including Jinsu, which is why the jar lives in a locked cabinet, and Jinsu controls the dosage. The galley table is folded down, magnetic cup holders in a row, squeeze bulbs of coffee, each one marked with initials in permanent ink. Joss's is chipped where the print flaked. The heating unit hums at a pitch different from the ship, higher, domestic, almost comforting. Jinsu's hydroponic rack, basil, mint, scallions, the unidentified leafy thing. Green life in a brushed metal frame, bolted to the galley wall, fed by a drip line from the water recycler. Dex arrives first. Silent nod, takes coffee, sits, eats with the efficiency of someone who treats meals as fuel intake. Arkady next, nervous already. The customs documents open on his tablet, his stylus tapping the armrest in a rhythm only he can hear. Mila, asking about the docking schedule, the approach vector, the things a third-run crew member asks, because the asking is how you learn. You eat standing, protein pack and coffee. A habit from the Deimos cargo docks 13 years ago, never broken. Standing means ready. Ready means in control. The logic is long obsolete and the habit is permanent. The schedule. Departure burn in 2 hours. Yuki's pre-burn diagnostic is running now. The results feeding to the bridge display where nobody watches them because Yuki's diagnostics always pass. And the one time they don't, she'll be on the intercom before the screen updates. Deimos Customs transit in 4 hours. Automated Tier 1, guaranteed. Tier 2, spot check. A 25% random selection. Then transit burn. 8 days, 4 hours to Hygiea at optimal fuel allocation. The entire run fits on one screen. The complexity hides in the margins between the numbers. Captain Vasquez arrives last. She's been on an encrypted comms call, the Hygiea delivery window, the grey market schedule that runs parallel to the clean one. Her face gives nothing away. It never does. The ship's debt, the grey market contacts, the legal risk. They live behind the same expression she uses to order coffee. She catches your eye across the galley. A single nod. The run is confirmed. 13 years ago, you sat where Mila sits, 22 years old, a deckhand on your third run. The galley was the same. Smaller table, different faces, the same hydroponic rack. Jinsu inherited it from the previous cook, who inherited it from the one before. Vasquez was already captain, already carrying the debt. She looked at you the way you now look at Mila, measuring what the new one might become. 13 years. The ship hasn't changed. The people have. The cargo has. 2 hours compress into departure prep. The crew moves to stations, boots clicking on deck plates, the choreography of a departure they've performed 60 times. Yuki on the intercom. Torch is green, pre-burn nominal. Dex in the pilot's chair, hands on the controls, the departure vector calculated to 3 decimal places. Arkady at comms, transmitting the clean departure clearance to Deimos control. The burn. The torch ignites. Not a roar, but a pressure. A hand pressing you into whatever surface touches your back. The Penumbra accelerates away from Mars orbit. The planet slides across the viewport, rust red, enormous. The thin atmosphere a bright line at the limb, thinning to a crescent as the angle changes. Deimos Station grows from a dot to a shape. A potato-shaped rock 12 kilometres across, grey-brown, pocked with craters, with docking bays carved into its equatorial ridge. Guidance strobes flash in sequence. White, amber, white. The queue forms. Corporate haulers first, their transponders broadcasting clean codes, priority docking assured. Independents wait at the back of the line. The Penumbra takes her place. The comms channel opens, ship names called, docking assignments given. Joss stands behind Dex's chair, the manifest tablet in hand, the clean one, screen facing outward where a camera might catch it. The real datapad is locked in the bunk. The panel is sealed. The numbers are ready. The queue moves forward. Mars fills the viewport. Rust red, close enough to see the scar of Valles Marineris and the volcanic bumps of the Tharsis Plateau. The bridge instruments glow. Approach vector, station traffic density, the Penumbra's queue position blinking in amber. The air up here is cleaner than the rest of the ship. Better filters, tighter seals. It tastes sharper, the metallic edge stripped away, replaced by the ozone bite of electronics working hard. Vasquez runs the briefing from the captain's chair. Rolls. Decks on approach and docking. Arkady on comms and document transmission. Joss handles the physical inspection, if one comes. Jinsu and Mila stay in crew quarters. Fewer faces at the airlock. Fewer questions to answer. Standard protocol. The words are familiar. The reason behind them is not discussed. Arkady hands his tablet across. The Forged Customs Manifest, a document that took him 2 days to build and will be examined for 30 minutes. Every customs code current, every weight figure matching the clean total to the kilogram, every seal number on the document corresponding to a real seal on a real container in Hold A. The supplementary document, standard packing variants, 3 pages of calibration data, maintenance logs, and loading notes that explain the 280 kilogram discrepancy between the Penumbra's gross mass and the manifest total. Arkady's hands are steady when he works, steadier than when he eats, steadier than when he talks. The forgery is where his nervous energy finds its focus. Rehearsal. The questions Customs always asks, delivered in the flat tone of someone who has answered them 100 times. Which is true for the legitimate version? What is the cargo? Industrial equipment and medical supplies for Hygiea Mining Station. Where was it loaded? Tharsis. Industrial dock. Manifest codes. TID 4471 through TID 4479. Who is the consignee? Hygiea Station Supply Office. Procurement Reference. HSS 2000 830714. What is the declared value? 31,400 credits. The answers are rehearsed until they sound unrehearsed. The trick is boredom. A cargo master who sounds bored is a cargo master who has done this before. A cargo master who sounds prepared is a cargo master who has something to prepare for. The Deimos custom system runs 3 tiers. Tier 2, physical spot check, random selection, roughly 1 in 4 transits, is the gamble. Tier 3 is the end. You have calculated the compound probability across all runs. 25% chance of Tier 2 each transit. Over 38 transits, the probability of never being selected is vanishingly small. You've been selected 11 times, passed 11 times. The false panel has held through 11 inspections by 5 different officers. The math should offer comfort. Each run is independent. The dice do not remember. The probability of Tier 2 today is the same 25% it was on the first run. Your stomach knows the math. Your stomach disagrees with its conclusions. Vasquez. Will the mass signature hold under the Deimos sweep? You answer. The hidden mass reads as structural shielding on external sensors. Within cormorant class tolerance, the numbers work. Yuki's voice on the intercom from engineering. Torch nominal, pre-burn checks complete, fuel margin at 14%. 14%. You want 20. 14 is what this run's cargo weight and fuel budget allow. The margin is always thinner than you'd choose, and you'd always choose thinner than Yuki would accept, and Yuki would always accept thinner than a regulation inspector would approve. Margins are a chain of compromises, each link slightly weaker than the one before. Deimos Station resolves in the viewport. 12 kilometres across, an irregular lump of grey-brown regolith with docking bays carved into its equatorial ridge. Each bay is lit with guidance strobes, white, amber, white, pulsing in sequence like a slow heartbeat. Corporate haulers slide past into priority berths, their running lights green and steady, their transponders singing clean codes to the traffic controller. A military patrol vessel hangs on a lazy orbit above the station. Dark hull, minimal running lights, the red and green of mandatory navigation markers, the only colour on its surface. Dex matches velocity and holds the Penumbra's position in the queue. Micro-thruster corrections, tiny hisses of compressed gas, barely audible through the bridge insulation. The ship drifts, corrects, drifts. 3 other independent freighters wait ahead. Their hulls show the same wear as the Penumbra's. Patched panels, faded registration marks, the look of ships that fly because someone won't let them stop. Independents are always last. The wait in the queue stretches time, 20 minutes that feel like an hour. The manifest tablet grows warm in your grip. Corporate ships slide past, clean, unhurried, docking without delay. The micro-thrusters hiss, the ship drifts, corrects, drifts. Mars fills half the sky behind you. Tharsis visible, the thin cloud wisps, the vast ochre plains. Arcadi on the customs frequency. Ship names called, berths assigned. The queue inches forward. Then, Penumbra, Deimos control. Docking Bay 7, Tier 2 inspection assigned. The words arrive through the bridge speakers with the flat indifference of a traffic controller reading from a list. Tier 2, the 1 in 4 chance. Arcadi's hand reaches for a caffeine tab. Vasquez doesn't move. You key the comms. Copy. Deimos control. Penumbra proceeding to Bay 7. Your voice is flat, steady, the same tone as the rehearsal. The dice don't care. Neither does your voice. Dex slots the Penumbra into Bay 7 with 0 lateral drift. The kind of precision that looks easy and isn't. Magnetic clamps engage with a heavy thunk that travels through the hull and into your feet. The ship groans as the station structure absorbs her mass. Deimos gravity arrives. 1/50th Earth, barely perceptible. But your inner ear notices the difference from the ship's spin drum and lodges a brief complaint behind your eyes. The knees find a new calibration, heavier than ship gravity but lighter than Mars. The particular uncertainty of a body that hasn't decided which ground is real. 2 steps, and the balance adjusts. The body is adaptable. The body is always more forgiving than the mind. The airlock cycles. Station air floods the threshold, different from ship air. Thinner, colder. There is a mineral tang in it, processed Deimos regolith, the taste of a moon rendered breathable by industrial chemistry. The docking arm stretches ahead. A long tube, grey walls, industrial lighting, directional signage in English, Mandarin, and Hindi. Commercial Arm 3. Functional. Not welcoming. Inspector Adizi Oyalaran steps through the airlock. Shorter than you remember. You've met twice before. Dark customs uniform, pressed, professional. A cargo scanner on her belt. Newer model than yours. Tablet with the transmitted manifest loaded. Cargo Master Kato. Routine inspection. No smile, no small talk. Oyalaran turns and walks toward Hold A. You follow. She works the rows. Each container scanned. Each transponder chip cross-referenced against the manifest on her tablet. Methodical. Thorough. She does not rush. 15 seconds per container. 9 containers. 2 minutes and 15 seconds of scanning that feel like 20. Her face reveals nothing. Not boredom, not suspicion. Professional neutrality. The face of someone doing a job she takes seriously because the job is worth taking seriously. Container 6. Water purification filters. Oyalaran stops. Points. A micro crack on the custom seal, hairline, running from the edge of the serial stamp to the corner. Cosmetic. Does not affect seal integrity. She notes it on her tablet. You explain. Shipping damage from the Tharsis loading dock, documented in the supplementary cargo log. Pull up the log on your tablet. Show her the entry. The entry is there, time-stamped, reference-coded, with a loading dock incident number that corresponds to a real incident report at Tharsis Industrial Dock. Arkady is thorough. Oyalaran reads the entry, checks the seal code, checks the incident reference, accepts it, moves on. The relief does not reach your face. Oyalaran walks the aft bulkhead. Her scanner sweeps left to right, the scanning tone ascending as it reads hull composition, density, material signature. The sweep reaches the false panel, the 4 bolts, the 280 kilograms of contraband, 2 meters behind the surface her scanner is touching. The tone continues, flat, consistent, the signature of standard radiation shielding material. Density within Cormorant class specifications. Yuki's engineering holds. The shielding reads as shielding. The scanner does not lie. The shielding does. Oyalaran's eyes stay on her tablet, reading the density numbers. She does not pause. She moves on. The scanner tone doesn't change. The reading is clean. The 6 for 6 count becomes possible in the space between one step and the next. Something loosens. In the jaw, the fingers, the small muscles around the eyes. Internal architecture. Nothing that shows. Nothing that moves. The sound of Oyalaran's boots on the cargo grid. Measured. Deliberate. Each step a professional conducting a professional inspection. She stops near the engineering access hatch. Turns. Your ship's gross mass reads 0.3% above Cormorant standard. The question you prepared for. The question Arkady built a 3-page document to answer. You reach for the tablet. Calibration drift on the cargo scale. Logged after our last maintenance cycle at Phobos Dock. The fake calibration report loads. A real Phobos Dock service form. Real diagnostic codes. Real technician signature. 1 serial digit modified. Oyalaran takes the tablet. Reads every line. The silence in the hold while she reads is louder than the hum. The echo of maglogs. The breath you're controlling. The scanner on her belt dormant and quiet. Her eyes move across the screen. Index finger scrolling. 1 line, 2, 3. The customs uniform is crisp. Her boots are station issue, different tread from ship boots. The cargo grid under both of you, the same grid, the same hold, the same air. She is doing her job. You are doing yours. Oyalaran signs a transit document on your tablet. Thumbprint, date stamp, clearance code. Clear transit, safe run, Penumbra. She hands the tablet back. Professional completion. No smile, no lingering. She walks to the airlock. The airlock cycles. She steps through. The seal closes. The silence after the seal closes has a texture. Dense. The hold settles around you. Containers, grid, the cold surfaces, and the colder air. Your jaw unlocks. You didn't know it was locked. The hands unclench from the manifest tablet. The knuckles are white, where the blood returns. 11 inspections. 11 passes. The body keeps the score the mind refuses to tally, and the score lives in the joints and the jaw and the grip that won't release until the airlock confirms you are alone. Deimos shrinks in the viewport. Dex's hands ease on the controls, the first visible tension he's shown all day, releasing now in the loosening of his grip. Arkady leans back in the comms chair, eyes closed. The forged documents did their work. The performance is over. Vasquez stands, stretches, walks off the bridge without a word. The silence is the celebration. Mag clamps release, the reverberating thunk, the hull flexing as the station lets go. Dex fires the maneuvering thrusters. Deimos station falls away, the guidance strobes dimming, the docking arms receding. Then the transit burn. The fusion torch at full thrust, the pressure settling into the ship, into your body, into the chair you're gripping. Mars begins to fall behind. Rust-red disk, bright crescent, bright point, one star among many. The crossing begins. 8 days, 280 million kilometres of empty space between here and the delivery that justifies everything. Lock the cargo office door, the click. Pull the real datapad from the belt. Update the run log. Deimos transit, Tier 2, passed. 6 for 6 on the false panel. The entry is brief. The breath behind it is long. The revenue calculation runs on the screen. The legitimate number hasn't changed. Grey market, 74,000. Total, 86,000. Expenses, fuel 8,000. Docking 3,400, transit fees 400, crew wages 14,000. Arcadi's document costs 800. Total expenses, 27,800. Net, 58,200. Ship's maintenance fund, 18,000. Vasquez takes it for repairs and fuel reserves. Crew distribution, 40,200. Per person, approximately 5,743 credits. For 10 days of work and the risk of a 5-year sentence at a penal station. Vasquez, and you know the full numbers. Arkady knows enough. He builds the documents. He can estimate. Dex, Yuki, Jinsu know they're paid well for an independent freighter. They don't ask why. The answer would make them accessories. The ignorance is a kindness or a liability, depending on which courtroom you imagine. Mila knows the least. Third run. She suspects. You can see it in the way she doesn't look at the aft bulkhead, the way she asks clean questions and accepts clean answers. Suspecting is not knowing. Knowing makes you complicit. You haven't decided whether to tell her. The decision gets deferred every run, and deferral is its own decision. Davy Suarez, the previous cargo master. He was arrested at Ceres Station, a Tier 3 scan on his previous ship. The false panel was good, but not good enough. 4 years at a penal station near Jupiter. You don't know which one. Vasquez doesn't discuss it. When you took over the datapad, Davy's last entry read, Run 22. Clean. It wasn't clean. Clean is what you call it when you haven't been caught yet. A notification on the personal channel, Hellas Basin, Mother. When are you coming home? Your father's knee is worse. The colony medical queue is 4 months. Read it twice. The money from this run covers a private consultation. The next run covers the follow-up. The run after that covers whatever comes next. The arithmetic never ends. It just adds new rows. Don't reply yet. The words aren't ready. They never are for this channel. Dex on the intercom. Mars departure vector locked. Transit time to Hygiea, 8 days, 4 hours at current fuel allocation. Log the number. 8 days of corridor and hold and galley and bunk. 8 days with the people you chose and the cargo they don't fully know about. Lock the datapad. Lock the drawer. Unlock the door. Step back into the shared ship, where the manifest has one set of numbers, and the air smells the same for everyone. 3 days compress into the rhythm of transit. The ship hums, and the hum becomes invisible. The way your own pulse is invisible, until someone presses fingers to your wrist. The crew rotates through watches. 4 hours on, 8 off. The schedule cycling until day and night are words on a clock face, and the body takes its cues from the galley schedule instead of the sun. You check the cargo each morning. Hold A first. Scanner over the containers. Transponders confirmed. The ritual beep of each seal verified. Then, the moment alone at the aft bulkhead. 4 bolts, still flush. Hold B untouched. The pharmaceutical packs in their vacuum seals, undisturbed. The routine has calcified from task to ritual. Not what you check, but the checking itself. The confirmation that the world is as you left it. Meals mark the hours. Jinsu finds new combinations from the same protein packs and the same herbs. Basil with the rehydrated chicken, mint folded into the powdered soup. The crew eats together. Dex says nothing. Arkady says too much. Mila asks questions that get more specific each day. Yuki eats fast and disappears to the engine room, where the number 2 coolant pump holds steady under her patch. Mars shrinks behind. A rust-coloured disk to a bright dot to just another point of light indistinguishable from the stars around it. Nothing ahead but velocity and time. Day 2 bleeds into day 3. Day 3 into day 4. The fuel number ticks. 13.8, 13.6, 13.4. The corridor walls haven't moved. They feel closer. The engine room vibrates, not the background hum of the corridor. This is a physical thing, a pressure that pushes through the deck plates and into your leg bones and settles somewhere behind the knees. Hot. The air recyclers back here work harder, pull harder, and still the temperature is 5 degrees above the rest of the ship. Sweat forms at the hairline within minutes. The fusion torch assembly fills the center of the space, a cylindrical housing 3 meters across, the core of everything. The Penumbra is built around this engine the way a body is built around a spine. Yuki Tanaka is in her element. Tools floating in a magnetic tray at her elbow. Wrenches, drivers, a diagnostic probe trailing a fiber optic cable. Her diagnostic screen scrolls data in columns. She reads, the way you read a manifest. By shape, by rhythm, by the pattern of numbers rather than the numbers themselves. Grease on her left cheek. She hasn't noticed. She won't notice until Jinsu points it out at dinner. Hold this panel, would you? You brace the access cover while Yuki reaches into the coolant pump housing. Her arm disappearing to the elbow, her fingers finding the seal surface by touch. 2 people in a space designed for 1 person with smaller shoulders. The engine room's heat presses between you. Yuki's breath is controlled, focused. She talks to the ship when she works. Come on, hold together. Not metaphor. She addresses the Penumbra by name and has done so for as long as you've known her. You've got 4 more runs in you, girl. At least. 3 years of hearing this, and it has never sounded ridiculous. The ship responds to Yuki's hands the way a patient responds to a doctor who listens. The number 2 coolant pump. Intermittent pressure drop, 3% below nominal. Yuki's diagnostic confirms what she already knew by feel. The pump seal is degrading. The rubber compound is crystallizing in the temperature cycles. If the seal fails, the secondary cooling loop loses pressure. If secondary pressure drops, the primary loop carries the full thermal load. If the primary loop overheats, the torch throttles to half thrust automatically. Half thrust extends the transit by 4 days. 4 extra days means the fuel margin drops from 14% to 6%. 6% margin is survivable. The word survivable carries no comfort. It carries arithmetic. Yuki's hands, small, precise, working by touch as much as sight. She reads the seal surface with her fingertips, feeling for cracks, for hardness, for the subtle change in texture that means the rubber is losing flexibility. I can patch it. It'll hold for this run. The real fix costs 3,000 credits and a full day in a station dry dock with the coolant system drained. The full refit the Penumbra actually needs: hull inspection, torch overhaul, nav system upgrade, every seal and gasket replaced, costs 40,000 credits. Yuki. She needs a month in dock, Joss, not a patch. You. Next quarter. The words come automatically. Both of you know that next quarter depends on margins that haven't been calculated yet. The Penumbra's torch is a Nakamura Bell Model 9, deuterium helium-3 fusion, the standard inner system freight drive. 70 years of proven technology, reliable, efficient, not fast. The engine was last overhauled 6 years ago. The manufacturer recommends every 4. Yuki keeps it running the way a surgeon maintains a patient, past the point where the textbook says to stop. Skill and attention filling the space where money and time should be. The access panel closes. Yuki wipes her hands on a rag that was clean 3 repairs ago. The Penumbra is 15 years old, and everything about her runs on the same logic. Patch it, fly it, fix it properly later. Later never comes because the schedule doesn't allow it, and the schedule doesn't allow it because the margins are built for the next run, not the one after. The grey market cargo pays for the fuel that burns in the engine that Yuki patches, with parts that should have been replaced with money they haven't earned yet. Every system connects. Pull one thread and the whole thing tightens. Yuki, not looking up from her tools. Are we making money this time? You. We're making enough. Yuki. That's not yes. She doesn't press. She knows the answer lives in the space between your words, the gap where the real numbers sit, unspoken but audible. You hand back the access panel wrench. The engine room hum fills the silence, which is not silence at all, but the sound of a ship holding itself together by trust and talk. The galley at midday, all 7 crew at the fold-down table, extended to its maximum, which is still not enough. Shoulders touching. Yuki on your left, Mila on your right. The table was designed for 4 people who didn't mind each other. 7 is a negotiation of elbows and reach. Jinsu serves the midday meal. Rice and vegetable reconstitute, upgraded with fresh herbs from the hydroponic rack. Basil and scallion, cut this morning, folded into the rehydrated rice, with a technique that Jinsu learned from his grandmother on Earth, and has not forgotten despite 20 years of eating from packets. The transformation is real. The herbs turn rations into food, turn a packet into a decision someone made. The difference between sustenance and a meal. The first bite. The basil cuts through the protein's bland warmth, bright, sharp, green, in a way that the color doesn't fully explain. The rice has texture that rehydration rarely achieves. Jinsu's secret. He soaks the packets for twice the recommended time. Patience is an ingredient the instructions never list. The coffee is hot and bitter and real, and the warmth of it reaches your stomach before the taste reaches your brain. 7 people in a small room. The galley is warm, body heat multiplied, the heating unit adding a layer, the air thick with the smell of herbs and reconstituted protein, and 7 humans who share a water recycler. Arkady is talking about a documentary he watched on the media server. Earth Cities, old footage before the climate migration. Mila listens. Dex eats. Vasquez listens without appearing to. Yuki eats fast, her mind already back in the engine room. Mila asks about Hygiea. What's the station like? 3rd run, but her first to this destination. Genuine curiosity, the kind that doesn't know which questions are dangerous. You answer the clean version. Mining station, 2,000 residents. Deep core nickel iron extraction under corporate charter. Standard facilities, habitation ring, commercial district, medical bay, recreation area. The version that doesn't include Felix Tan, the service corridors behind the water recycling plant, or the back channel economy that keeps the station's actual population alive in ways the charter doesn't cover. Mila nods, satisfied with the surface. The gap between what she knows and what she doesn't widens every time you give her the edited answer. And she cannot see the gap because the edges look smooth. 22 years old, 3rd run on the Penumbra. You sat where Mila sits, asking the same clean questions to the previous cargo master, Davi Suarez, who answered the same way. Clean version, partial truth. Enough to keep the new deckhand working without keeping them awake. 6 months later, Davi was arrested at Ceres. The locked datapad changed hands. The 2 ledger life became yours. Mila sits in the same seat. The symmetry is precise and uncomfortable, and you look away from it by clearing the dishes. Dex tells a docking story. 3 sentences, perfectly timed. A Phobos approach where the traffic controller fell asleep mid-transmission. Dex docked on dead silence. The guidance strobes his only reference, the ship slotting into the berth with 0 drift, while the controller snored through the comms channel. The table laughs, even Arkady, whose laugh is rare and startled when it arrives. Vasquez smiles, brief, real, gone. 7 people in a metal tube between worlds, eating herbs grown in a rack, laughing at a story about silence. These are the moments. They don't last. They don't need to. You clear the dishes. Jinsu protests. You ignore the protest. The cargo master who counts everything also cleans everything. The logic is absent, but the habit is load-bearing. These people, this galley, this table too small, the warmth of shared food in a ship that shares its air and its water and its routines. Not family. Something adjacent. People you chose. People who chose you back. People whose freedom depends on 4 bolts, sitting flush in a bulkhead they walk past every day without looking. The laughter fades. The table settles. 7 faces in the galley light. These people will go to prison if the 4 bolts don't sit flush. They don't know this. Not all of them. Yuki might. Dex might. Jinsu reads people better than anyone on this ship, and probably reads the silences between your answers. But knowing and knowing officially are different, and the gap between them is a kindness you maintain because the alternative is making everyone an accessory. The warmth of the galley, the green smell of the herbs, the weight of being responsible for people who trust you with something they don't fully understand. The observation blister, a pilot's emergency sighting station on the dorsal hull, 1 meter across, transparent dome, repurposed by crew who need to see outside. Climb in, knees drawn up, the dome overhead, the ship below and behind, a metal floor and a hatch, the void on every side. The wrist tablet open to the transit plot, a curved line from Mars to Hygiea. The Penumbra, a blinking dot 1/3 of the way along. On course, on schedule. Fuel margin, 13.8%. The 0.2% drop from departure is normal burn variance. Molecular inefficiency, thermal loss, the small tax that physics charges on every calculation. Arrival projection, 11% margin if nothing changes. Things change. They always change. The 11% is a hope dressed as a number. The view is nothing. Not poetic nothing. Actual nothing. Mars is a rust-colored dot behind you, indistinguishable from a star unless you know where to look. Jupiter is a faint point ahead and to port. The Sun is a fierce pinprick that the dome's filter dims to tolerance. Between them, black, empty. The distances are real here in a way that numbers on a screen cannot convey. The transit plot says 280 million kilometres. The view says you are alone, in a way that has no edges. Hygiea is out there, 430 kilometres across, the 4th largest asteroid in the belt. Big enough for its own gravity, small enough to walk around in a day. The belt is not the dense field of popular imagination. It is mostly empty space, with rocks separated by thousands of kilometres, each one orbiting in its own solitude. The colony dome at Hellas Basin. Mars sky, pink, thin, the stars visible at noon because the atmosphere doesn't scatter light enough to hide them. Father at the observation window, his hand pointing up and out, past the dome's curve, into the dark. That's where the metals come from. You were 12. The belt was a word on a lesson screen. You didn't understand that where the metals come from meant people living in pressurized cylinders on the surface of rocks, working 12-hour shifts for corporations that charged them for the air they breathed. Now you deliver supplies to those people, the legal ones and the illegal ones. Father would understand the first shipment, not the second. In the observation blister, the ship hum fades to a whisper. The void presses against the dome. The faintest vibration reaches you through the hull. The torch, the recyclers, the ship's slow pulse transmitted through metal and glass, and into the back of your skull. Your own heartbeat. Slower here. The body responds to the emptiness with something primal, something that knows you are small and moving and temporary. Day 4 of 8. The walls don't move. The people don't change. The only evidence of motion is the blinking dot on the nav plot and the fuel number ticking down. You can't feel velocity. You take it on faith. Faith in the instruments, in Dex's calculations, in the torch that Yuki patched this morning. The loneliness of the crossing is not about being alone. It is about being between Mars and the belt, between the clean manifest and the real one, between the person your parents raised and the person the margins required you to become. Close the wrist tablet. Stay in the blister. The stars do not move. The ship moves. You move. The only evidence is the fuel gauge ticking down, and you cannot feel that either. The ship walk, bow to stern, 90 meters, 4 minutes at walking pace in 1/3 gravity. Magnetic boots clicking on the deck. Step, click, step, click. A metronome for the confined life. The corridor, is the ship's spine. Everything branches from it. Bridge forward, engine aft, holds and quarters, and the galley in between. The geography of the corridor is a geography of the senses. Galley section, basil, coffee, the warmth of Jinsu's heating unit. Crew quarters, bodies, fabric, the private sounds of people occupying shared space. Cargo section, industrial, metallic, the chill of proximity to the hull. Engineering, oil, ozone, heat. The temperature rises 2 degrees per section as you walk aft. Touch the engineering bulkhead with your palm. The metal is warm. Body temperature warm, alive with the engine's heat, bleeding through the insulation. The ship is a gradient. Cool at the brain, warm at the heart, hot at the engine. Your hand reads the hull the way a doctor reads a pulse. Your skin maps the ship without looking. Crew quarters, the curtained bunks, someone watching a video, the volume too low to identify the content, too high to pretend it's silence. Arcady, probably. Someone sleeping. The slow rhythm of restrained breathing, the creak of a bunk restraint shifting as the sleeper turns. Dex, probably. He sleeps like a man who trusts the autopilot completely, which he does, because he set it. The cargo office door. Locked, the real numbers behind it. You pause, hand on the frame. The numbers don't change between checks. The compulsion to verify them is about control, not information. The need to confirm that the world is still arranged in the pattern you left it. One breath. Move on. The aft section. Engine room hum louder, temperature rising, the ship narrowing towards the torch assembly. The last bulkhead has a radiation warning placard. Yellow and black. Universal. The same design they've used for 150 years. Beyond, the engine, the fuel, the fire that moves you through the nothing. Turn around, walk back. 90 meters. The same scuffs, the same conduits. Day 4 wearing the face of day 3. The only thing that moves is the blinking dot on the nav plot, and you cannot feel it, and you cannot see it from here. The walk ends where it began. 4 days compress into routine that becomes invisible. The number 2 coolant pump holds. Yuki's patch is steady, the pressure reading stable enough that her hourly checks become every 4 hours, and the tension in her face when she listens to the engine eases into something that is not confidence, but is not worry either. The crew find their patterns. Jinsu reads medical journals in his bunk, old ones downloaded at the last station. Arkady watches documentaries about Earth cities he has never visited. Mila uses the resistance machine twice daily, disciplined, her body maintaining what low gravity erodes. You walk the ship. Vasquez walks the ship. Never at the same time. The fuel margin ticks. 12.4, 11.9, 11.6. The numbers move in the right direction, which is down, which is the only direction a fuel gauge moves, and the skill is in ensuring it moves slowly enough to reach the destination with a number that is still positive. The cargo doesn't shift. The hidden hold stays hidden. On day 7, Dex adjusts the braking calculation, a minor orbital correction, 0.3 of a degree. Updated ephemeris data refines Hygiea's position. The transit shortens by 6 hours. Fuel saved, 0.3%. Dex mentions it at dinner, the way he mentions everything. Briefly, factually, as if reporting atmospheric pressure. Yuki kisses him on the cheek. He blinks. The table grins. Dex returns to his rice. On day 8, Hygiea appears on the long-range sensors. A dark shape against the starfield, resolving slowly from a point to an irregular silhouette to a body with surface features. Craters, ridges, the glint of station infrastructure catching distant sunlight. The belt. The crew changes, posture straightens, conversations sharpen. The transit stupor burns off, and the ship fills with purpose again. The real business begins. Hygiea on the main screen. Dark, irregular, 430 kilometres of cratered rock with a city's worth of light scattered across its surface. White and amber clusters marking habitation modules, processing plants, the commercial district. Orbital infrastructure extends from the equatorial belt. 3 docking arms, reaching into the void like fingers. A processing platform trailing the asteroid on a tether. Corporate haulers in formation with logos on their hulls, and transponders broadcasting identification in the language of legitimate commerce. Dex on the controls. The braking burn. The torch firing in reverse. The ship shuddering as thrust fights 8 days of accumulated velocity. The deceleration pushes you forward against the seat harness. Your hands gripping the armrests. The ship groaning as competing forces work through her hull. 30 minutes. 8 days of crossing compressed into half an hour of physics. The Penumbra bleeds speed, and through the viewport, Hygiea grows from a shape to a world. Cratered, grey, pocked with the scars of 4 billion years of bombardment, lit by human ambition in small, bright clusters. Station comms. A corporate automated voice assigning docking positions. Corporate berths first. Priority access for the ships with the clean logos and the transponder codes that open doors. The Penumbra. Commercial Arm 3, Berth 12. The far end of the far arm. Through the viewport, other ships are visible on adjacent arms. Corporate freighters with fresh paint and full fuel tanks. Their running lights steady and green. The Penumbra's running lights are amber. 2 of the 5 strobes replaced with salvage units that pulse at a slightly different frequency. From outside, the ship blinks unevenly, a heartbeat with an arrhythmia. Nobody fixes the strobes because the strobes are cosmetic, and cosmetic costs don't survive the triage of a maintenance budget built for survival. Farthest from the main station. Independents queue at the back, dock at the edge, and conduct their business in the spaces the corporation doesn't bother to monitor. Vasquez confirms the legitimate delivery with Hygiea Station Supply Office. Manifest received. Offload scheduled. Payment on completion. Post-deceleration fuel reading, 11.2%. Enough for the return to Mars with 3% reserve. 3%. The margin between getting home and transmitting a distress call to the nearest corporate tow service. A tow from the belt to Mars orbit costs 45,000 credits, more than this entire run's gross revenue. The incentive to not need a tow is not caution. It is arithmetic. You log the number on the real data pad. This number you don't share. Arcadi on the encrypted channel, a short burst to a relay that bounces through 3 nodes before reaching the surface. Felix Tan's response arrives 40 seconds later. A time 4 hours after docking. A runner will bring a location. The meeting point changes every run. Felix's rule. Predictability is vulnerability. And Felix has survived 30 years of back-channel work by never being where you expect him. You acknowledge the message. Vasquez nods from her chair. The ship has 2 schedules running. Both are on time. Dex brings the Penumbra in clean. 0 drift. The magnetic clamps engage with a sound like a fist striking a table. Solid, final, the hull ringing with it. The ship connects to the docking collar, and station air floods through the cycling airlock. Different air. Thinner. Colder. The taste of processed rock dust and industrial filtration. Deimos air with a different mineral signature. Hygiea's atmosphere carries a faint sulfur trace, bleeding up from the deep core mining operations kilometres below the station floor. Hygiea gravity arrives, 1/50th Earth, with a spin component from the station's slow rotation. Your inner ear adjusts, finds a new equilibrium, and the slight vertigo settles into a new version of normal. The docking arm stretches ahead, Commercial Arm 3, a long tube connecting the berth to the station interior. Grey walls, industrial lighting, directional signage in 3 languages. The floor texture is different from the ship. Rougher, colder, station flooring designed for mag boots and handler bots, not bare feet. Other docking arms are visible through narrow windows. Corporate berths, busier, better lit. The infrastructure of the primary economy operating in full view. Station handlers arrive for the legitimate cargo. Men and women in Hygiea Corp jumpsuits. Dark blue, logo on the shoulder. Efficient, impersonal. They carry a manifest, a schedule, and no interest in the crew who delivered the cargo. Handler bots roll into Hold A. Automated lifters that grip each container with padded arms and transport it down the docking arm on magnetic rails. You watch the offload from the airlock threshold, scanner in hand, checking each container against the clean manifest as it leaves. Transponder, beep confirmed. 1, 2, 3, 9 containers. 4,200 kilograms of drill bits and filters and medical supplies, leaving the ship in orderly sequence. The legitimate run concludes. Mila directs the handler bots, checking tie-downs as they release, tracking each container on her tablet, confirming the offload sequence. She is good at this. Efficient, professional, focused. The legitimate work is real work, and she does it with the attention of someone who takes pride in doing things correctly. You watch her, and the thought arrives uninvited. She could build a career on the clean side. Dock supervisor, logistics coordinator. She doesn't need the grey, but the Penumbra needs the grey, and Mila is on the Penumbra, and the equation has no solution that keeps everyone whole. Legitimate offload confirmed. Payment, 12,000 credits, corporate transfer, taxable, legal. The number sits on the screen. Clean, small, insufficient. 12,000 credits for 8 days of transit, 9 containers of industrial cargo, and the wages of 7 crew members. The number that matters, 74,000, is still in Hold B, behind the 4 flush bolts, waiting. A teenager in a station maintenance uniform, too clean for real maintenance, the jumpsuit unworn, the boots unscuffed. Approaches while you check a cargo manifest at the airlock threshold, pretends to inspect a ventilation panel, slides a folded note across the railing. Paper, actual paper, old-fashioned, no digital trace. The note, a service corridor number, a time, 1 word. Felix, memorize, destroy. The paper dissolves in the water recycler, and the message exists nowhere except in your memory. 4 hours after docking, you walk through Hygiea Station alone. The commercial district first, small shops under low ceilings, a canteen serving station food on metal trays, the company store where miners spend company scrip on company-priced goods. Station architecture follows the asteroid's interior geometry: curved corridors, low ceilings, grey composite walls. LED lighting mimics daylight without convincing anyone. The air is cooler here than aboard ship, drier, with the persistent sulphur whisper from below. The company store. The prices are displayed on a screen above the counter. A kilogram of fresh fruit, 40 credits. The same fruit on Mars costs 8. A litre of filtered water beyond the daily ration, 15 credits. A personal comm unit, corporate approved, monitored, logged, 200 credits. The markup is the invisible architecture of the station's economy. The corporation provides what the charter requires. The charter was written by corporations. The circularity is structural, not accidental. And it creates the gap that Felix Tan has spent 30 years filling. The miners. You see them in the canteen, in the corridors, moving between shift changes, company jumpsuits, tired eyes, the posture of people who have worked 12-hour shifts in low gravity. Their muscles atrophying in ways the station's minimal exercise facilities cannot prevent. Their hands are calloused differently from ship crew hands. Drill vibration, sample handling, the grip patterns of underground work scored into their palms. A miner passes in the corridor, heavy-shouldered, company jumpsuit, tool belt. She meets your eyes, a nod. The brief acknowledgement of someone who recognizes a freighter crew member without wanting to know which freighter or what it carries. The anonymity is mutual. You nod back. She's gone. The corridor absorbs her the way stations absorb everyone. Into the schedule, into the shift, into the machinery of extraction. Some of them will use the sharps you carried. Some will use the comms. You won't know which. You won't ask. The cargo leaves your hands and enters their lives, and the connection between those two moments is your signature on a locked data pad. The transition, commercial district to residential ring to service corridors. Each step less polished, less monitored, more honest. Behind the water recycling plant, the corridors narrow, dimmer lighting, no directional signs, maintenance infrastructure, pipes, cable runs, the rhythmic pulse of the recycling system transmitted through the walls. Count doors. The right one is unmarked, a grey panel in a wall of grey panels. Push it open. Felix Tan is waiting. A large man, 60 years of belt gravity written into his frame. The body spreads in low G, the way bodies do when gravity doesn't compress them. Broader shoulders, thicker torso, the slow redistribution of mass that marks a lifer. His handshake is careful, calibrated. He has learned to adjust his grip for people from different gravities, and the result is a pressure that is firm without being aggressive. The room is small, a maintenance closet repurposed for meetings that cannot happen in public. Bare walls, exposed conduit, a single work light casting harsh shadows upward. The floor is station composite, cold through your boot soles. The smell, industrial lubricant, recycled air with the sulfur trace stronger here, close to the deep core access shafts. A chair that Felix doesn't offer and you don't expect. Business conducted standing is business that expects to end quickly. His face, lined, patient, weathered by decades of artificial light and recycled air. the face of a man who solves problems through channels that appear on no diagram. No names exchanged, no pleasantries. Felix. You have it. You. 200 sharps, 80 comms. Same quality as last time. Felix nods. 6 runs of delivered promises have built a trust that doesn't require verification. The negotiation is absent because the price was agreed before you left Mars. Reputation is the contract. Enforcement is mutual dependency. 74,000 credits. The encrypted transfer happens on 2 datapads held close together. Near field, no network connection, no trace on any system. The number appears on your screen. Confirmed. Verified. The money is real. With Felix, it always is. He operates on the principle that a reputation for honest payment is worth more than any single deal's margin. And 30 years of back-channel work have proved him right. Felix is Hygiea's parallel economy, procurement chief for everything the corporation doesn't provide or actively withholds. The sharps will be distributed through section leaders, 1 pack per miner who requests it. No pressure, no markup. Felix doesn't profit on the sharps. He profits on the trust that distributing them builds. The comms units will be installed by his tech contacts in the maintenance corridors. Encrypted channels between sections the corporation keeps isolated. The isolation is deliberate. A fragmented workforce cannot organize. The comms undo the fragmentation, 1 conversation at a time. You're not saving anyone, Felix says. His voice is low, steady, the cadence of someone who has said similar things to similar people over many years. You're giving them better margins. The word lands. Margins. The same word you use for fuel reserves and profit calculations. Felix uses it for the distance between a miner accepting a dangerous shift and a miner running the hazard calculation and saying no. The same word. Different arithmetic. The same function. The gap between enough and not enough. Something shifts in the way you hear it. Not resolution. Recognition. The numbers serve people. The people are standing in corridors 1 floor above, eating company food at company prices. And the sharps in their system cabinets will give them the clarity to read the safety reports that the company writes in language designed to be unreadable. Felix leads through corridors you don't know. The station's internal geography is his territory. The maintenance levels, the service routes, the access points that don't appear on the public map. A service airlock on the maintenance level. A cargo transfer point used for station resupply, currently unscheduled. Felix has the access codes. You signal the Penumbra via encrypted comm. Yuki and Vasquez handle shipside. The false panel opens aboard the Penumbra. The 280 kilograms of contraband move through the secondary cargo hatch. A hatch that exists for emergency depressurization and doesn't appear on the station's docking manifest. To the service airlock. Felix's people receive the shipment. 2 miners in maintenance coveralls, their movements quick and practiced. They check the packages, verify the seals, load them onto a station utility cart. The pharmaceutical packs are firm, light for their value. The comms crate is heavier, each item handled with care. Not delicacy, but professionalism. The pharmaceutical packs cross from your hands to the miner's hands. Each one lighter than its value suggests. The weight of compressed chemistry, not the weight of what it represents. The last pack leaves your grip, and the lightness after is physical. Your hands are empty. The hold is empty. The transaction has moved from potential to kinetic, and the momentum belongs to someone else now. These people have done this before. The airlock smells of vacuum, cold, metallic, the particular absence that seeps around airlock seals no matter how well they're maintained. The sound of cargo being stacked on the utility cart. The solid thump of pharmaceutical packs, the heavier thud of the comms crate, the squeak of the cart's wheels on the maintenance floor. Beyond the airlock, pipes, conduit, the hum of the water recycler. The backstage of a station that presents a corporate front. The service airlock closes. The secondary hatch seals aboard the Penumbra. The false panel closes. The 4 bolts seat flush. The hex driver turns each one until the head is level with the surrounding surface. The last bolt seats with a click that you feel more than hear. Tomorrow, the Penumbra is just a freighter that delivered drill bits. Felix. Same time, next quarter, you. If the margins hold, he nods. The handshake is firmer this time, the grip of completed business, of a transaction that went as planned, of a relationship that endures because both sides need it to. Felix turns and walks into the service corridor. The door closes. The corridor is empty. The water recycler pulses through the wall. You're breathing. The 74,000 credits on the encrypted data pad. The run is done. The hours after the handoff compress into the quiet exhale of a completed run. The legitimate offload is finished. Paperwork signed. The clean manifest filed and archived in Deimos Customs System as a routine delivery. The grey market cargo has dissolved into Hygiea Station's service corridors, invisible, already becoming someone else's responsibility and someone else's risk. The crew disperses into the station's limited hospitality. Mila explores the commercial district. She buys a pressed fruit bar at the company store and pauses at the price display, but says nothing. Dex finds a comms booth in the residential ring and calls his wife on Tharsis. The 6-minute signal delay transforms conversation into a series of patient monologues, but the sound of her voice crosses the belt, and that is enough. Jinsu restocks the galley with station-fresh provisions, actual vegetables in sealed containers, a small jar of honey, powdered milk that isn't 6 months past its stamp. Arkady sits in the canteen, drinks coffee he didn't make, and watches the miners pass without writing about it in his journal. Yuki buys a replacement seal for the number 2 coolant pump, 800 credits, wincing at the markup. But the seal is genuine Nakamura Bell, and the patch was always temporary. She installs it in the engine room before the crew returns, and the diagnostic screen shows nominal pressure for the first time in 6 days. The Penumbra is slightly healthier than when it arrived. Slightly. Vasquez settles the docking fees and arranges fuel purchase. Deuterium helium-3 piped through the station's fueling arm, the tanks filling slowly as the gauge climbs. Not a full load. The budget covers a partial fill, enough for the return to Mars with a margin that Dex has calculated to the 0.1%. The fuel margin widens, briefly, fractionally, before the return trip's arithmetic begins its downward count. Undocking. Dex eases the Penumbra out of berth 12. The mag clamps release. Hygiea's lights slide past the viewport, amber and white, the clusters thinning as the station recedes. The departure burn, the torch fires, the station becomes a shape, a point, a memory. The return begins. The bunk, the door locked, the lock engaging with the transition from the shared ship to the private accounting. The The run is done. The cargo delivered. The money transferred. What remains is the arithmetic, which is honest, and the feelings about the arithmetic, which are not simple. Pull the real datapad from the belt. Thumbprint unlock. The run summary loads, 2 columns, in and out. Revenue, 12,000 legitimate, 74,000 grey market. Total, 86,000 credits. Expenses, fuel, 8,000. Docking fees, 3,400. Transit fees, 400. Provisions resupply at Hygiea, 1,200. Crew wages, 14,000. Document production costs, 800. Total expenses, 27,800. Net, 58,200 credits. Ship's maintenance fund, 18,000. Vasquez takes it for the hull repair that can't wait, and the torch overhaul that must. Crew distribution, 40,200. Per person, 5,743 credits. What the number means. A Tharsis factory worker earns that in 2 months of 8-hour shifts with health coverage and a pension contribution. A belt miner earns it in 3 months of 12-hour shifts with corporate air and a medical queue. For you, 10 days in a metal tube, 2 manifests, 1 set of 4 bolts, and a probability curve that steepens with every run. The number is good enough. Not good. Not safe. Not sufficient to build anything that lasts. Enough. Enough. That is the word for this life. Open the personal banking channel. Transfer 3,500 credits to Hellas Basin Colony. Medical account tagged for private orthopedic consultation. Father's knee. The colony medical queue is 4 months long because the colony's single orthopedic surgeon handles a population of 12,000 with equipment that was modern when the colony was founded. Private consultation means a doctor in the commercial district, off-colony system, same-week appointment. The money covers it. Remaining 2,243 credits. Not enough for what you need. Always enough for what they need. The priority is not a choice. It is a column in a ledger that was balanced before you were old enough to question it. The message, drafted in your head over 8 days, revised during watches, edited during walks, and still not right. Type it now. Transferring funds for private consultation. He should see Dr. Okoye at the Hellas Medical Center. She's the best for orthopedics. Tell him I'll visit after the next run. Send. The same promise as last time, and the time before that. The words are true when you type them. Whether they remain true depends on margins that haven't been calculated yet. On a next run that hasn't been scheduled, on a set of bolts that haven't been checked. Hellas Basin, 4 years ago. The colony dome, vast and curved overhead, the Mars sky pink and thin beyond it. The gravity, 0.38 Earth, was heavier than you remembered. Your legs ached after the first day, the bones protesting weight they'd forgotten how to carry. Mother cooked real food. Actual vegetables from the hydroponics bay where she works, cut and prepared in a kitchen that doesn't move. A stew that took 4 hours. Father in his chair by the observation window. The knee was already stiffening then, the cartilage wearing in the particular way that Martian gravity accelerates. Enough to stress joints, not enough to maintain bone density. He didn't complain. He asked about the ship, the route, the cargo. You answered the clean version. Standing at the dome window on the last night. Mars sky, pink, the stars visible through the thin atmosphere. I'll be back in 6 months. 4 years. The distance between you and Hellas Basin is not measured in kilometres. It is measured in runs. Each run is 10 days. Each gap between runs is 3 weeks of maintenance, loading and waiting for Arkady to build the next set of documents. Each year is 12 runs. 4 years is 48 runs, and a photo on the bulkhead with adhesive tape curling at the edges. The parents think the ship hauls freight. The ship does haul freight. The rest lives on a device that wipes itself after 3 failed attempts and exists nowhere else. 38 runs over 3 years on the Penumbra. Total grey market revenue handled, 2.1 million credits. Total contraband moved, approximately 8 tons. Cognitive enhancers, communication equipment, once a shipment of unregulated water filters for a station whose corporation was rationing supply during a contract dispute. No arrests, no losses, no violence. The record is clean. The word clean does the same work here that it does on the manifest. It means the absence of detection, not the absence of transgression. Every run adds weight to the odds. The bunk, your shape in the foam, the dip that matches a hip, a shoulder, 3 years of sleeping in this shelf, in this ship, in this life. The torch hum through the insulation, muffled to a vibration you feel rather than hear. The crew beyond the curtain, settling into sleep. The sounds of breathing, a bunk restraint creaking, Arkady's video at murmur volume. The photo on the bulkhead. Parents, Hellas Basin, the adhesive curling, the faces unchanged. The distance between the photo and the people it shows, growing in a dimension that has nothing to do with space. The run log, the real datapad. Run 38, Hygiea complete, revenue 86,000, net 58,200, panel 6/6. Close the file, lock the datapad, slide it into the storage net, zip closed. 38 entries, each the same format, each one a run completed, a risk absorbed, a margin held. The log is a record of survival, not triumph, not growth. Survival, which is what you call it when the alternative was failure, and you kept the ship in the air. The ship at night is a different creature. The hum drops to a lower register. The LED strips dim to amber. The corridors empty. The air recycler shifts to night mode, slower cycling, conserving power. And the air tastes fractionally thinner, as if the ship itself is breathing more slowly. Somewhere aft, the torch burns at cruise thrust. Somewhere forward, Dex sleeps. Between, the ship, holding its course through the dark, carrying 7 people and an empty hold. The water recycler shifts pitch in the night, a lower note, almost musical, the machinery dropping to its resting register. Through the bulkhead, the faintest sound, Jinsu's hydroponic drip line, feeding the basil and the mint and the unnamed green thing. Water moving through tubes in the dark. Life sustained by plumbing. The mundane machinery of continuing to exist, operating without witness, without gratitude, without pause. The bridge at night cycle. Low lighting. Instrument glow casting blue and amber pools across the consoles. The viewport, stars and Mars. A rust-coloured point ahead, 8 days away. The bridge is unmanned. Autopilot handles the return transit. Dex set the course before turning in. The trajectory calculated, the waypoints logged, the micro-corrections automated. The instruments monitor themselves. The chair vibrates faintly with each micro-correction. tiny adjustments in thrust and attitude, the autopilot keeping the ship on a line you cannot see. The vibrations are irregular, unpredictable, like a heartbeat that skips when the body dreams. You settle into it. The ship is alive. The ship is sleeping. You are sitting in its sleeping body, watching its instruments breathe. You come here anyway. Sit in the pilot's chair, Dex's chair. The controls are locked to autopilot. The ship flies itself. You put your hands on the flight stick, the polymer grip, smooth and warm, the vibration of a ship in motion transmitted through the stick to your palm. Not for control, for connection. The feeling of being inside a machine that is going somewhere, even when the somewhere is too far to see and the going is too fast to feel. Dex showed you the emergency procedures years ago. If I'm incapacitated, this is how you stop. The lesson was practical. The gesture of learning it was trust, the acknowledgement that the ship needs more than one person who can touch the controls. The fuel margin for the return, 3.1%. Dex squeezed an extra 0.1% from the departure burn. An optimization in the thrust vector that shaved 6 seconds off the burn duration and saved fuel that the Penumbra's computers wouldn't have found. That is Dex, fractions, the invisible margin between the calculated and the possible, found by hands that feel what the instruments measure. The transit plot, Hygiea to Mars, 8 days. The return path curves differently from the outbound. Orbital mechanics ensures that you never take the same road twice. The belt falls behind. Mars grows from a point to a disk to a world. But that is days away. Right now, Mars is a dot. Home is a number on the navigation display. The distance is a curve on a screen. Vasquez's voice on the intercom. Brief, warm in the way that Vasquez is warm, which is to say, contained and precise. Good run. 2 words. The channel clicks closed. That is all either of you needs. The run succeeded. The ship is heading home. The margins held. Vasquez carries the ship's debt. You carry the cargo's secrets. Between you, a single nod, a 2-word intercom call, and the understanding that neither discusses what the other carries, because discussing it would require naming it, and naming it would make it heavier. The pilot's chair is contoured for Dex, the lumbar support too high for you, the armrest too narrow, but the view is the same. The stars, the instruments, the ship moving through the void without visible motion. Somewhere behind this viewport, Hygiea Station turns in its slow orbit, and miners are sleeping with sharps in their system cabinets and comms units hidden in their bunks. The cargo is gone. Its effect is beginning. The chain between your hands and their lives has one more link in it now, and you cannot see the far end. 3 years ago, the cargo office. Vasquez's face across the desk, calm, direct, no performance. The legitimate margins don't work. You've seen the numbers. You had seen them. The numbers were clear. The same clarity that makes you good at this job made the situation impossible to ignore. Revenue minus expenses was negative, not close to 0. Negative. The ship was dying of arithmetic. I need someone who can carry 2 books and sleep at night. The pause lasted 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, the clean version of Jos Kato ended. The person who emerged was the same person. Same hands, same calculations, same cargo scanner on the belt, but with a second datapad and a set of bolts that needed to sit flush. You said yes. The choice was made before the question was spoken, because the alternative was watching 7 people lose the only ship that would have them, the observation blister. One last time, knees drawn up, the dome overhead, the same position as day 4, but everything behind it has changed. The run is complete, the cargo delivered, the money transferred, the message sent, the course set. The blister is the only place on the ship where you can see both where you've been and where you're going. And right now, both of those are points of light too distant to distinguish from stars. Hygiea behind, invisible, already a coordinate in the navigation log. Mars ahead, a rust-coloured point, 8 days of velocity away. The belt scattered in its invisible orbits, each asteroid a world with people on it, working, surviving, calculating their own margins. The stars don't move, the ship moves. You move. The only evidence is the fuel gauge, and even that is just a number on a screen. 38 runs, the probability curve, 5-year sentence at a penal station. Every crew member charged, the ship confiscated. You have run the expected value calculation. Revenue multiplied by probability of success, minus sentence cost multiplied by probability of capture. The expected value is positive. The calculation says continue. The arithmetic does not account for the photo on the bulkhead, for the parents who think you haul drill bits, for the 23-year-old deckhand who doesn't know what's behind the panel she walks past every day. The economics of independence. 60 years of corporate consolidation have squeezed the margin until independence is a word that means grey market or bankruptcy. The corporations set freight rates low enough to eliminate competition. An independent that runs clean runs at a loss. An independent that runs grey survives. The Penumbra is not unique. It is typical. The grey economy is not an aberration. It is the cost of a market designed by the entities that control it. You did not invent this system. You work within it. The distinction matters less every run, and every run it matters less that it matters less. Father's hands, water extraction technician. Rough, capable, scarred from 20 years of pressurized systems. He built things, fixed things, kept water flowing to a colony that needed every drop. Honest work, clean ledger, one set of numbers. Your hands, rough, capable, scarred from a cargo strap that snapped under tension on the second run. Different work, 2 sets of numbers, the same calluses from different tools. Look at your hands in the dome's pale starlight. The cargo strap scar across the right palm, white now, a line of tissue that lost its pigment in the healing. The scanner calluses on the thumb and forefinger. The roughness of palms that grip containers, turn bolts, hold data pads. Father's hands were the same shape, broader, thicker, but the same shape. The tools are different. The hands are the same. The dome is cold against the back of your skull. The void bleeds through the transparency, not cold air, but the absence of warmth. The thermal signature of nothing pressing against the glass. The ship's heartbeat reaches you through the hull, the faintest vibration, the torch and the recyclers and the pumps and the life support, the systems that keep 7 bodies alive in the space between worlds. Your breathing slows. The body finds its rhythm in the emptiness. The margins, fuel margins, profit margins, safety margins, moral margins, every one of them thinner than you choose, every one of them enough for now. If the margins hold, the phrase you said to Felix, the phrase that describes this ship, this crew, this life, this version of you, You are never certain. You calculate, you count, you check the bolts, you fly. The arithmetic is honest. The situation it describes is grey. Both things are true. Neither cancels the other. You carry both books because the alternative, one clean book and a bankrupt ship, helps nobody. The stars, the dome, the silence that is not empty but full of velocity. 14 kilometres per second, 7 people, a ship that needs repairs, a father whose knee hurts, a ledger with 2 columns, a set of bolts that have to sit flush. The margins hold. For now. For now is the only time frame that matters when you are moving this fast and the destination is this far away. Rest your head against the dome, the cold of space on the back of your skull. Mars is a point of rust light. Home is a number on the navigation display. The wrist tablet is dark. No numbers to check. Both manifests completed, filed, closed. The body settles. The breathing slows. The cold of the dome becomes familiar. The margins hold. For now. The stars begin to blur. Not fading, softening. As if the dome between you and the void is thickening, the transparency warming, the glass becoming opaque. The curve of the blister flattens. The cold retreats. The sharp points of light spread and dim, and the deep black between them fills with something that is not light, but is not dark either. The grey of a ceiling, the warmth of a room, the absence of infinity. The ship's hum gentles, the vibration that lived in every surface, deck, wall, bunk, dome, loosens its grip. The frequency shifts. The fusion torch's low roar thins to a whisper, and the whisper thins to silence. And the silence is not the silence of a ship at cruise, but the silence of a room that does not move. The gravity changes. Your body gains weight, not Martian weight, not ship weight. Earth weight, your weight. The weight of a body settling into a surface that does not vibrate. Kato. The name retreats. A word on a manifest. A signature on a customs form. A voice answering an inspector's questions in a tone of practiced boredom. The name becomes a sound, then a syllable. Then a fading vibration in the air recycler that is no longer an air recycler, but the ventilation of a room with windows. The cargo scanner unclips from a belt that isn't there. The stylus behind your ear dissolves into the pillow. The manifest tablet's numbers, both sets, dim on a screen that is shrinking. The clean numbers go first. 4,200 kilograms, 9 containers, Hygiea Station supply office. Then the real numbers, 280 kilograms, 4 bolts, 6 for 6. Then the difference between the two sets. Then the concept of difference itself, dissolving into the space where the numbers were. The crew blur. Vasquez's nod becomes a gesture without a face behind it. Dex's hands leave the flight controls, and the controls vanish. Yuki's voice, "Come on, hold together, girl," softens to a murmur, then a breath, then quiet. Arkady's nervous tap stills. Jinsu's herbs lose their scent. Basil first, then mint. Then the unnamed green thing, fading to nothing. Myla's questions stop mid-sentence, and the answers dissolve before they form. And the gap between what she knows and what she doesn't closes because both sides are gone. Felix Tan's handshake loosens. The firm grip calibrated for different gravities becomes a pressure, then a touch, then the memory of a touch. The service corridor behind the water recycling plant closes its unmarked door. Hygiea's lights, the amber and white clusters on the dark rock, extinguish one by one, section by section, until the asteroid is just a shape, then a shadow, then a coordinate, then nothing. The penumbra dissolves, the corridors become walls, the holds become rooms, the observation blister becomes a ceiling, solid, close, still. The engine hum becomes the silence of a building that is anchored to the ground. The 4 bolts turn without hands, and the panel they held becomes a wall that was always a wall, in a room that was always a room, and there is no hidden space behind it. The ship suit becomes sheets. The mesh restraint becomes a blanket's gentle weight across your chest. The magnetic boots release, and your feet are bare. Not on a deck grid, but on cotton, on softness, on the surface of a bed that does not move. The recycled air warms, the metallic taste fades, the smell of your room arrives, familiar, unprocessed, yours. The pillow under your head is not a foam shelf bolted to a bulkhead. It is a pillow. The margins let go. No fuel calculations, no crew shares, no probability curves, no compound risk, no clean manifest, and no real manifest, and no difference between them. The arithmetic that structured every hour of every day of every run releases its grip, and the numbers dissolve, and the columns close, and the ledger, both ledgers, shuts. Just rest. Just stillness, just the space between one breath and the next, which is the only margin that matters now. The vault closes its door. The moment returns to stillness.